How to prevent drug dependency. Unofficially, not as a physician, but as somebody who is somebody in recovery, I have learned from other people in recovery that the 3-day rule. And that's saying that to use this drug of choice for no longer than 3 days at a time and stop for another 2 days in between. This allows their body to balance things out again and to prevent the dependency that could form over this 3 days. They can go through a mild withdrawal as opposed to if they use for a week straight and then stop for a week straight. There'll be a much more severe withdrawal syndrome in that situation. So the practical answer is to not use for longer than 2 or 3 days at a time, and then to stop for 2 or 3 days afterwards and not have escalating doses, i.e. not falling into the trap of increased tolerance for the drug of choice. Now, medically speaking, I cannot recommend that whatsoever, but this would be considered a harm reduction strategy. So if a person is going to use, they're not going to be told what to do. Most users will do what they want to do, no matter what others tell them. This is part of the game here, and the best thing to do is to minimize the harm that happens, i.e. harm reduction strategies, and this would be one of them, is to avoid prolonged use of the drug not longer than 3 days at a time. What are the signs of drug dependence? In the beginning, the user can disappear for unexplained periods of time. They can have excuses for absences or unexplained absences altogether. They could be missing work, school, sleeping in. These are signs that there's something happening in their life. When they're using, they tend to be friendly and warm and full of love, and when they're withdrawing, they feel irritable, agitated, and anxious. They could be sweaty, have tremor as well, difficulties concentrating. The main thing about dependency, though, is that there's cycles of abstinence followed by cycles of using. So they can abstain for a period of time, they try to quit, for example, but they just can't maintain it. There's some sort of stress, something happens in their life, and they end up using again. The withdrawal syndrome as well is a big trigger for people to use again. So if they try to quit, they might get through the first few days, feel they're very uncomfortable, they're going through like a terrible flu. That's the best way to describe what withdrawal feels like. It's worse than that. I can speak about that personally. But in the situation, they're feeling very unwell, and the quickest way to get rid of this is to use again. So this is what I mean by the cycles. The best way to avoid this altogether is to go into long-term treatment, but that is the subject of a different question. So to summarize, the signs of drug dependence can be in their everyday life that things are becoming impaired by unexcused absences, lying, inconsistencies. They can have cycles of irritability and joy. They can be very loving at times when they're high and happy, but when they're not using and going through withdrawal, it's completely the opposite, with discomfort, irritation, irritability, and more. And finally, the end stages is that they can affect their long-term health. Their intelligence can be affected. There can be impaired performance at school or at work. And this is just some of the examples that I can think of at the top of my mind. How does drug dependency develop? In the beginning, it can be from people who are using to party, have fun, but then it comes to a point where they can tend to rely on the drug of choice more often. So instead of using it just on weekends, it now slips into their weekly life. They find that the increased wakefulness, for example, from using opioids or crystal meth, these are study drugs too, the increased wakefulness, so they end up using it more and more during the week. And then slowly they can develop withdrawal without even knowing it. So it's very insidious, the onset of withdrawal or the onset of dependency, because they don't realize that when they stop taking the medication, at some point they're going to start feeling uncomfortable because of the withdrawal syndrome. So their body has gotten used to the drug of choice, and when it's not present, their body is going through some changes that are trying to balance the abnormal neurotransmission in their brain, and it causes a whole host of symptoms, including agitation, withdrawal, agitation, irritability, discomfort, moodiness, difficulties concentrating, you name it. So these are all the things that can slowly progress, and the way to avoid this is to try to minimize how much a person's taking. So as a healthcare professional, I would say it's best not to engage in any drug use, but this is the old-fashioned Nancy Reagan way of doing things, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. Some people are going to use whether they're told that they know it's bad for them, they still will take it. So the next stage is harm reduction, and that says that if you're going to use, minimize how much harm that this creates in your life. So to avoid going into dependency and withdrawal, the rule of thumb is 3 days. The 3-day rule is do not use for longer than 3 days at a time, and then follow this up with at least 2 days of complete abstinence. This is a trick that people can use to avoid these physiological changes that occur in their brains. It can help keep the balance as opposed to an imbalance, which tends to happen if a person is using on a more frequent basis. So I hope that helps. To summarize it, drug dependence is a very complicated situation. A person relies on the drug of choice at first to party with, but then uses that as a crutch, as a way of staying more awake, for example. And if they're not using it, if they're not being careful, and if they're using it too frequently throughout the week, the dependency can sneak up on them. However, the best way to avoid this is the 3 and 2 rule, and this is to use at the maximum of 3 days and to follow this up with 2 days of total abstinence. Is drug dependence genetic? I would say 80% of the time, yes it is. There is a hereditary component. So this means that if it runs in the family, that is likely that the person involved will have a higher risk of developing dependency. This doesn't mean everybody who has a family member who has had a history of substance abuse will become addicted themselves, but they should know that there's a higher risk, higher likelihood that they could. The reason why is beyond the scope of this discussion, but there is a genetic component. It does affect the neurotransmission in the brain, and there's also a learned component too. So this is not genetics, but sometimes we learn behaviors from what we see in others close to us, and we tend to model our behavior after them. So that's not a genetic thing, but that's more of a nurture thing. Still, it's something that is learned from a young age. So dealing with pain, having poor tolerance to pain, for example, are examples of behaviors that are learned in families. It's not necessarily genetic, it could be, but it can be a learned behavior from other family members. So to summarize this one, drug dependency, for the most part, in 80% of cases, people do have a family member that also exhibited substance misuse. And this happens about 80% of the time. And even if there's no genetic component, there's still learned behaviors that people develop by learning around them and seeing how, at a young age, how other people deal with pain and with stresses in their life. Which drug has the highest dependency potential? The stronger the drug and the more active, quicker that the drug works on the body, the more dangerous it is and more likely it's going to cause dependency. The drug that comes to mind here off the top would be fentanyl. This is because it's very potent, it exerts its effects very quickly, and from a drug user standpoint, this is what they're after. They want to have a quick high. That's what they're craving, that's what they want to feel. But the problem is, for every up there is a down, and this is just a fact of nature. And the same thing happens with the high of an opioid induced high is soon followed by crashing down and feeling very uncomfortable, and they may not be going through withdrawal at first, after first use, but they will feel craving to use it again. The same thing happens with cocaine, crystal meth. These drugs are very quick acting and potent, and they can get the person high. Crack cocaine's another one. The person gets high very rapidly, but also comes down very rapidly, and now they start craving it even more, and this accelerates that cycle, accelerates the addiction, and accelerates the dependency. And this means that if they stop taking the medication, stop taking the drug of choice, that they feel unwell, and to undo this discomfort, they just rely back on the drug of choice. So that's what catches them into this downward spiral. So to summarize, the drugs that cause the highest potential for dependency are the ones that are the strongest and the ones that are the most rapid acting.